studios in New York City. This is Charlie Rose.
Daniel Dennett is here, trailing storm clouds of controversy. He's a philosopher, a disturber of the peace, a provocateur who says the confrontation between religious faith and the modern scientific world is not going away. Long ago, Daniel Dennett introduced the first Frisbee into Britain when he was studying at Oxford. Ever since, he's been releasing arguments like thunderbolts aimed at notions of the supernatural and the ranks of the pious. He says the world is polarizing between the rational and the faithful, and it's time to break the spell of religion. That's the title of his latest book, Breaking the Spell, and it's being hotly debated from pulpits and talk shows to faculty lounges and op-ed pages. It's just the latest of many books, including Content and Consciousness, Freedom Evolves, and Darwin's Dangerous Idea. He teaches at Tufts University, where he heads the Center for Cognitive Studies. He's a self-described bright, the new word for atheist, and wrestling with God is not the only thing he does. He makes cider, picks blueberries, is a sculptor, and a sailor. Charlie had reached out to him a few weeks ago, and I'm here to welcome you, Daniel Dennett, to the show in Charlie's stead.
Well, Bill, I'm delighted to be here.
People who go around America confessing that or proclaiming that they are atheistic are not going to win any popularity contests.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. I find that everywhere I go, I find people, particularly young people, coming up to me and saying, "Thank goodness you're doing this. We're so grateful to you." You know, it's the first time we've heard a sane adult say anything like this. Coming out of the closet as a bright is actually, I think, a very important political thing to do. I know a lot of people in many states would never dare do it.
Where did that term come from, bright?
A couple of ex-high school teachers in California came up with the idea, and they started a website, started a movement. It wasn't my coinage, although a lot of people think it was. I just decided this was worth a try, and so I decided to write about that and did an op-ed piece in the New York Times.
I remember that. Why not just use the old-fashioned term for atheist, or free thinker, which is a very popular name?
Well, I think the idea was we needed a new happy term, something a little bit in your face, something with a little bit of an edge so it would catch people's attention. It was modeled very deliberately and very consciously on the homosexual kidnapping of the word gay, which took some time. It was not all that popular at first, but eventually it caught on, and I think everybody would have to say it was an important political move.
When you say these young people come up to you and say, thank you, what are they thanking you for?
They're thanking me for confirming their hunch that it is quite all right to be an atheist, quite all right you can be a moral person, you can be a deeply engaged person, and you don't have to be apologetic or quiet about it. In the same way you could stand up and say, I'm a Baptist, or I'm a Buddhist, you can say, I'm a bright.
There's a church in Austin, Texas, where I went to the University of Texas, a Presbyterian church that kicked up a dust storm of controversy itself recently when it admitted an atheist into membership. The pastor says they've gotten letters from both sides. The Christians write to demand, quote, how can you let someone join the church who cannot affirm the divinity of Christ? What's wrong with you liberals? The atheists get letters asking, how can you as an atheist surrender your mind to a superstitious institution that gives birth to the Inquisition and the Crusades? That pretty well sums up the polarity, doesn't it?
No, I think it does, but I don't think we have to be so polarized. I mean, I don't go around advertising my atheism all the time. Anybody asks me, I tell them. I don't think it's that important, quite frankly. I'm not a militant atheist. In fact, I have a lot of the church-going friends. I even go to church myself on occasion.
You go to church? Where?
In New England, I was raised a Congregationalist, and
You were raised a Christian?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Did you think that
I went to Sunday school, and I learned the hymns, and I still can recite some psalms, I'm pretty sure. Sure. Did
you think that the life of Jesus was the greatest story ever told, as many of us believed at the time?
I thought it was I thought it was a wonderful story. Yes.
What happened?
I didn't believe the supernatural part of it.
Even then, even as a child?
I can't remember. I guess I did for a while. But as soon as I thought about it seriously, I rejected that. Sure.
When did you become an atheist? What caused the shift?
There was no dramatic shift. I was, I suppose, a teenager, thinking about what made sense and what was plausible, and I saw through other supernatural things just fine. I didn't see any reason to believe in poltergeists or any of the other crazy supernatural stuff in astrology or trance channeling or anything like that. And I thought, well, I don't see any reason to believe these stories just because they're several thousand years old.
Did you raise your children to be religious?
No, but we did take them to church so that they could hear the music and learn the songs. And we love Christmas, and we have a Christmas carol party that we've had for 25 years, and all our friends come and we all sing the music.
What about your grandchildren? Do you want them to be raised in a traditional?
Yes, I'd like them to know the tradition. I have a grandson, and we've talked about this. He's not, in fact, going to Sunday school now, but that would be fine if he did.
We went on Saturday night to Carnegie Hall for Brahms' Requiem. Now, here was a man, a great composer, who had no place in his life really for organized religion, and yet that music opens with the words, "Blessed are they that mourn, for they will be comforted."
Yes.
And then the fourth movement of the Requiem draws on the 84th Psalm. "How lovely are thy tabernacle, O Lord of hosts! My soul longeth, yea, even fainteth, for the courts of the Lord. My heart and my flesh crieth out for the living God. Blessed are they that dwell in thy house. They will be still praising thee." Where do you think such longing arises?
Well, I think the longing for comfort is not hard to understand. Death is a terrible blow, and our species is unique in all the species on the planet in being able to imagine our deaths and knowing that we're going to die and not liking that idea. And I think we have two competing urges. This is not so much my theory as the theory of several other people that I discuss in my book. One of them is, and these are rooted actually in our biology. They're even rooted in our genes. And one of them is to get away from a corpse. It's dangerous. It's a source of disease. It is something to withdraw from. At the same time, this is a loved one, and that's something to approach. So we're tugged in two completely different directions, and you can't just leave the body of a loved one there. You have to do something. And out of that grows the rituals, the burial rituals, and out of that grows the sense that that person is still there. After all, your head is still teeming with, well, I wonder if she'd like, and what would she think of, and can she see me now? All of these habits of mind that we have about anybody that's close to us, whether we love them or hate them, actually. Those habits don't just stop when a person dies. And so it's very natural to understand how those habits could be turned into a sort of hallucinatory presence.
Joseph Campbell once said to me that he thought religion may well have begun when the first woman realized that was a corpse beside her and wondered where her husband had gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that longing expressed in the woman, that longing expressed in the 84th Psalm, moves on from just the desire for comfort to try to touch something transcendental. At least that's how I read this powerfully poetical language.
Well, Brahms' Requiem is one of the great masterpieces of all time. I've sung it and loved it for years.
What does it touch in you?
It touches many chords in me. I can be reduced to a shivering, trembling hulk by Bach, by the St. Matthew Passion, by Brahms. I've sung in a lot of choirs and choruses in my day, and the music moves me tremendously.
Biologically? Is that a biological?
Of course it is.
What do you mean by it? You say religion, earlier you said religion has biological roots. What do you mean by that? And you say this response to this great music is biological.
Well, it's partly biological. There's a biological basis. All the great composers knew how to pluck the heartstrings, how to create effects that were deeply moving. Bach was a genius. He did some very clever things. His great chorale cantatas, for instance, he took hymn tunes, the chorale tunes that were already deeply familiar to the people that were coming to church. They were like Home on the Range or Christmas carols to us, and then he